Welcome, everyone, to the Union Federation podcast, where we discuss both Star Trek and the Orville here on the Fandom Podcast Network. My name is Kevin. I'll be your captain this week. We are Union Federation episode 217. We are discussing the Orville crew profile. We are discussing Captain Ed Mercer, played by Seth MacFarlane. And if you've been paying attention or if you're new, go back and check out our previous episodes. We've been highlighting each of the main cast members of the Orville and zeroing in on a few episodes each and highlighting them. It's been a lot of fun. Well, I can't do this alone. I need my crew here. And with me, as always, is the co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, my co-captain and security and weapons officer. I would like to welcome Mr. Kyle Wagner. What's going on? He was on Planet Taxia.
Kalon Consortium audit. I'm sorry. I fell. Wait a minute. This isn't Med Bay. Where's it? I don't even get Nurse Chapel. What's going on around here? I wake up, I'm on the Union Federation podcast. Am I at that point in tax season already? But wait, we're talking about Mercer tonight, right?
Yes.
Okay. We got some cool stuff to talk about then. I'm excited.
We did mention that you were on Planet Taxia, so you're back now. You're okay a little bit because
we talked mention that special krill brew, so I'm good for the show.
All right. And with us, as always, of course, is our first officer and counselor and founder of the BQN. Please welcome the lovely Miss Amy Nelson. What's going on?
Well, hello, Kyle. We missed you so much last week. I kept putting in our private chat, I miss Kyle.
Yes, but you guys had a wonderful co-host who subbed in for me, and I know that you guys did a great episode on Kelly Grayson and had a lot of fun. And come on, I mean, I got to give a quick shout out to Alyssa. I mean, what an awesome Kelly Grayson cosplay player she is too. So.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping to have her back next week for the final episode of this series. So, yeah, she was great. Definitely. So, well, like I mentioned, this is Union Federation, episode 217. We are discussing Mr. Ed Mercer, played by Seth MacFarlane. Union Federation on the Fandom Podcast Network. We also have a QR code there. If you're watching YouTube, go ahead and give it a scan. We'll take you to our website. And, of course, the BQNs, where you can also find the Union Federation. And we are doing a limited 10-episode series of the USS Orville crew members and their profiles. And this is 217, talking about Ed Mercer. Previously, as we mentioned, we have been covering all the rest of the crew members, and we're getting down towards the end now. We've covered Alara Katan, Tala Kiali, Commander John Lamar, Gordon Malloy, Commander Boris, Claire Finn. We also did Mr. Isaac, played by Mark Jackson, and last week we did Kelly Grayson. And next week will be the final episode of this series. We're going to talk about all the guest stars in Star Trek Alumni. That'll be a lot of fun. And if you go back a little bit too, we gave our thoughts on Star Trek Section 31, the recent movie that came out. And last year we talked about season 5, the final season of Star Trek Lower Decks. And also, we did a fun limited series talking about all of the 2-part episodes of Next Generation, guys. And I did want to mention, I have over here behind me, guys, I got to show this off a little bit. This is the full collection of Lower Decks right here, steelbooks, 2 steelbooks, the entire series of Lower Decks here. Total of 10 discs. And the steel books are inside the cardboard case, which is pretty cool. Highly recommend it. Check it out. There's a nice little postcard inside too that has probably not personally signed, but the autographs of all the main characters on it too. So if you're a physical media collector and you want the entire collection of Lower Decks, it's just dropped on Blu-ray. So check it out.
Very nice.
Yeah, I'm happy about that. Okay, guys, as we mentioned, we are talking about the Orville, and we're talking about Mr. Seth MacFarlane, Ed Mercer. Let's go ahead and hit the first Orville shuttle mission. Now, we did want to mention one of the things that we've been doing with these crew profiles is we've been highlighting 2 episodes. Sometimes we also have an honorable mention. And since we are discussing Captain Ed Mercer this week, the 2 episodes we're going to be highlighting is Season 2, Episode 4, Nothing Left on Earth Excepting Fishes. And then we have Season Season 3, Episode 4, Gently Falling Rain. And our honorable mention episode is Season 1, Episode 5, Priya. We're going to go ahead and talk about Nothing on Earth Excepting Fishes. And but before we do that, we got to talk a little bit about Ed Mercer, guys. I kind of want to get your guys' first impression of Ed here. And I do have a little bit of bio here. Ed Mercer was born to Bert and Janine Mercer in Boxford, Massachusetts, on Earth sometimes in the late 24th century. As a child, he dreamt of commanding his own starship. Ed enrolled in the Academy Union Point, where he became drinking buddies with Gordon Malloy. Gordon and Ed sat next to each other in every class they shared, such as astroarchaeology under Professor LaMarche. One of Ed's flight instructors was Barkos, and the eventual captain of the USS Roosevelt during the Battle of Earth. He got a B+ in temporal theory, later started stating no student received an A in the course. Quote, it's time travel, no one really gets it. Ed excelled academically and graduated top of his class, and he enlisted in the Planetary Union's fleet. Ed Mercer in the early 20th century, after stints on USS Bohr and the Epsilon Iridian Station, the highlights of her career were serving as commanding officer of the USS Orville. From the captain's chair of the Orville, Ed was involved in some of the planetary's most important political and military missions, which we'll get into a little bit later. Of course, since his days at Union Point, Ed was respected and gifted young officer. He seemed destined for admiralty, but an affair between his wife, Kelly Grayson, and another man left him emotionally devastated, and his performance suffered. And of course, we know what has happened since then as well. I want to kind of start our opening character discussion here. Let's start with you, Amy. Give me your thoughts on Ed Mercer.
You know, this is one of the shows that it's weird to say the episodes that we're choosing to cover, there's not a lot of Captain Mercer episodes. He's just in everywhere. And after last week's discussion and seeing like how well her character is developed and how she has these amazing stories with each of the crew, where with Captain Mercer, I'm still trying to figure out who is he. I think he's a great leader. I think he's confident about himself, but yet still humble. Especially in this third season, once he got over Kelly, like getting him into, the Union.
Right.
So he got over that. And it's like, I feel like he's trusting his judgment. And we'll talk about that with Talea. Where he's like, I set her free. Like, so he was, confident in that. And that's nice to see that growth with him. But as far as like a main character, he's still an enigma to me.
It's interesting you say that, Kyle. I want to see where you stand on that, because when we were trying to figure out what episodes to highlight, I think we've pretty much highlighted all of them, because I know he has important parts in other people's roles, but I think Bordas has like twice amount as he does.
Yeah.
Kyle, what say you?
I think this is done intentionally by Seth MacFarlane. That Ed Mercer's a little bit in the back. He's in every episode, but he is an enigma, because I think Seth MacFarlane is the kind of creator and writer. He wants to let the other people around him shine.
He's not selfish.
He's very unselfish. But the other thing with Ed Mercer too is, and in a way, this is going to be a kind of a weird comparison. He reminds me a little bit of Anson Mount's Captain Pike in this aspect. He's a kind of captain that you can go have a drink with, and it doesn't matter. He's just part of the crew. He treats everybody on the same level, and you just want to hang out with him. And I think that's part of why he's kind of a bit of an enigma, because he doesn't have. He's the captain, but he doesn't hold his captaincy over everybody. I mean, Kirk did a little bit, Picard did a little bit. Obviously other Star Trek captains have, and that's part of being the captain in the military thing. But Ed really doesn't. Ed is very supportive of his entire crew, and he keeps everybody on an equal level. You very rarely see him dress down somebody as the captain. And I think, and he's one to go in there, and we see his flaws. We see his issues with self-confidence, especially with everything with Kelly. We see somebody who comes into the captaincy young and really develops through this whole series of the Orville. And I think the part of the issue is with Ed is, I think of all the characters, I know we'll talk about a little later in that segment, but of all the characters, he has the biggest story yet to tell that they haven't told yet.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Kyle. And I was thinking too, he's an easygoing guy. He's an easygoing commander. And I feel like that's what makes his crew work well together, because there's not a lot of extra attention that they have to look for with a strict commander and stuff like that. And, he'll dress you down. He's had moments, where, he's turned on the captain's chair and done that. But, he also confides in his fellow crew members. I mean, how many times he confide in Kelly and the doctor, or even in Malloy, and it's one of those things that, yes, there's a line there. When they're friends, but when they're on duty, they're on duty. And I think Seth is a very good leader, showrunner himself, for allowing a lot of these other characters and actors to shine. Kyle,
come on, let's just be honest here. Ed patterns himself after the greatest leader of all time, Kermit the Frog. So come on, he's dealing with the Muppet crew every movie and every week on the Muppet Show. Come on, if you're going to pattern yourself after everybody to handle a ship full of kind of a little bit of a misfit toys, Kermit the Frog's the way to go.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so what's interesting, actually, Amy, is I think, if I remember correctly, the 3 episodes that we're going to mention, obviously Priya is the honorable mention one, but I think we're kind of going back and forth between this one, Nothing Left on Earth Excepting Fishes, and Priya, like which one's going to be the honorable mention. And I think because Nothing Left on Earth Excepting Fishes is related to Gently Falling Rain, those two had to be the ones that are highlighted, and what curve that ends up throwing to Ed Mercer. But let's go ahead and get into the Admiral's Log episode synopsis for Nothing Left on Earth Excepting Fishes. Amy, take it away.
All right. Well, after making their romance known, Captain Ed Mercer and Lieutenant Janelle Tyler leave for a short trip together. While en route, the Krill capture their vessel. Janelle is tortured, forcing Ed to divulge his decoy command codes. He soon learns that Janelle is actually Talea, the Krill teacher Ed encountered during a previous mission. Disguised as a human, she volunteered to capture a Union captain to seek revenge on Ed for her brothers' and crewmates' deaths. Another species attacks the Krill vessel. Ed and Talea use an escape pod and land on a nearby planet. Talea, susceptible to sunlight, must rely on Ed to coordinate a rescue. Back on the Orville, Kelly questions Gordon's motive in taking the career-advancing command test. Ed successfully signals the Orville, and he and Talea are rescued. In a controversial move, Ed releases Talea to the Krill as a means to open diplomatic relations with her xenophobic race. She warns him the Krill will never negotiate, as all other humanoid species are considered expendable and inferior soulless beings. Now, there's some production notes that go along with this episode. Nothing Left on Earth Excepting Fishes was jointly written by Brannon Braga and Andre Formis over a period of 5 weeks, both of whom had written on season 1 Into the Fold. According to Bormanis, he and Braga co-wrote several scripts for the season to delve more deeply into the lives of the crew, exploring their interests, relationships, and histories, with particular attention paid to Ed and Kelly. Ultimately, their aim was to produce a mind-bending science fiction plot. Now, this episode was praised by fans for continuing the gripping Krill Planetary Union saga started in season 1. The episode was watched by 3 million American households, 0.73 million of which were at the ages 18 through 49. It currently holds a rating of 8.5 on IMDb, the highest of season 2 up until that point, surpassing even Home, and which was one of the highest overall.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get to some episode trivia here, guys. And I'll read off the first one here. Trivia 1. Adrian Palicki and Scott Grimes announced their engagement the day this episode aired. There's a picture here, of course, with Adrian's Instagram picture. It says, "So happy to spend my life with you at Scott Grimes. I do. I love you." That was really
Wow.
sweet. Yeah. Fortunately, it didn't last very long.
Yeah.
Amy, go ahead and get us for the next bit of trivia there.
Well, Kelly tells Bortus that the new permanent security chief will arrive next week. And Jessica Zor, as Lieutenant Tala Kiali, was added to the cast 1 week later in All the World is Birthday Cake, replacing Lieutenant Tharl.
Not going to be sad about that.
Nope, not at all.
Kyle, you want to get the third and final bit of trivia here?
Yeah, give me 1 sec because my screen froze up here, so it's coming up now. Go ahead and read it, Kevin. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I got you. All right. Episode's title, "Nothing Left on Earth Excepting Fishes," is a line from the song "A Puzzlement," sung by Yul Brynner from the American musical film The King and I from 1956, where the king ponders how the world has changed and how he's going to teach his oldest son, heir to the throne, about how the world works. Quote, "Is a danger to be trusting one another. One will seldom want to do what other wishes. But unless someday somebody trusts somebody, there'll be nothing left on earth excepting fishes." Of course, there's some cool pictures of the king and I there, and the couple watching it as well. So we have some notable guest stars here, guys. Of course, we have Michaela McManus as Lieutenant Janelle Tyler / Talea. Patrick Warburton as Lieutenant Tharl. And Chris Johnson as Cassius, and Michael Traynor as the Krill captain. All right, let's go ahead and get into the opening discussion here for Nothing Left on Earth Excepting Fishes. Amy, I want to start with you. Why was this a good, it's obvious, but we want to kind of spell it out here. Why is this a good Captain Mercer episode?
I think that this episode highlights Ed's underlying, like his moral compass. He is always going to choose to believe in the good of people. And we see it over and over, but truly exemplified in this episode. And he just, when he finds out that betrayal, it's pretty tough. And I know, and he's asking these questions like, was it me? Did she feel it? I'm sure she felt something, and having this conversation with himself, even though he's talking to her, but she's not giving him anything,
Yeah.
So and I've been there. I mean, I've been rejected, and it's like the things that he was asking is like, yeah, dude, I get you. So he was so relatable. And for him to just still have that faith in humanity, faith that people will do the right thing, just makes this episode an Ed episode.
Kyle, what about you? What makes this a good Ed episode for you too?
It's funny with this episode because I just said earlier, Seth MacFarlane is very unselfish with his cast, but this was a Seth MacFarlane episode. From the movies they talk about, the music they listen to, it's everything Seth MacFarlane loves.
There's so much Seth and Ed Mercer.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, Ed Mercer is basically Seth for the most part, but I mean, Amy hits on it. It's his humanity, it's his ability, even when something so bad happens to him. I mean, that would crush a lot of people. And yet at the end of the episode, he still sees his own humanity. He's doing what's best, the way he thinks is best for possible future relations. And you see him they're in this situation, and he understands the situation. He knows he has to work with her to survive the situation they're in, and yet he's still protective of her. He still believes that there's part of that was real, and he believes in his heart. And that is the one thing with Mercer is I'm not going to say he's not unintelligent, but he is a captain who leads with his heart, and he leads with it, like you said, Amy, his moral compass. And I think that's why he's such a good captain. I think you see it in this episode. That's why he has the respect of the crew, because he does lead with his heart. He does lead with his moral compass, and the crew know that, and they know that he is never going to leave them behind, and they're not going to leave him behind either. And again, I just come back to, here is somebody who went through something that would break so many people, and yet he stood strong and still kept his beliefs, even though he's heartbroken at the same time.
You know what's interesting is when I was rewatching this, I took specific notice of Janelle Tyler / what's her name?
Talea.
Talea, thank you. And I was watching Talea's expressions, even through that makeup, because it makes Michael McManus even a more extraordinary actor for how she's able to express certain things through that mask and makeup. And part of me was thinking, like, first of all, how are you not being charmed by Ed Mercer? Whether you like the musical or not, or Taxi Driver or not, he's doing it in a very charming way. And he has a way about him that is charming. You can see why, Kelly still cares for him and notices a little different smiles, the 14 different smiles that he has and everything like that. And when it comes to certain moments, I'm trying to figure out what was it when she went. She says basically she wants revenge, on her brother and all that kind of stuff, and that she changed the directory of her career by going from teacher to spy, soldier, whatever it is, and then eventually we find out what happens to her. But I'm trying to figure out, like, what exactly happened to her. Was there pressure from someone else other than her to turn her into who she is now, to wanting to be able to do this? Because when I look back at what we know becomes in the next episode we're going to discuss, I'm like, how do you not want to be with Seth MacFarlane's character of Ed Mercer? Why do you not want to even look at that? Because even when he lets her go and then he gives her like the little thing of music and stuff like that, you still see something in her face, like she's might be questioning something. So I'm just wondering, things have to really be bad on Krill to where she finds a moment to where, like, you know what, I'm going to turn Krill against the Planetary Union, and I'm going to try to keep this pregnancy secret, blah blah blah. I don't know if it's a flaw in the character development, but there's just something there that I need to see more of, and we'll discuss that more later. Kyle,
I just want to your point is, I think at this point here, between how she grew up and the Krill beliefs, and she's so full of rage and anger and hurt over the loss of her brother and her friends, that she's all consumed by that. And it's actually Ed, with his personality, he doesn't get all the way through, but he puts in some dents into that armor in this episode. And I think that, what we didn't see on screen between them, to put more dents into it. But the other thing about this too, and because you brought up a point about Kelly noticing his smiles and remembering his smiles. Think about that for a minute. That is a woman who loved that man. If she knows he has these different smiles and still loves him in one way or the other, to recognize those things and see those things, that tells you the impact Ed has on people's lives. And I think that's really important to take note of.
Amy, I got to ask you. I need your woman's point of view on this.
I was listening to you, and you're sort of onto something, because when I think about if she's going undercover, right? She obviously has this core acceptance of revenge is necessary. But I guess I don't understand going undercover that deep, that you are going to offer your body to this enemy who you find repulsive. Like, that goes beyond. So now I'm like, she's got to be some kind of special crazy to not fall for it. Because Kevin, you're right.
Yeah.
He's adorable.
Because most people
know?
that go undercover, you don't see the charm that she seems to be falling for. I don't know. I mean, unless you're really, really, really good at your job, but she's not. She's just a former teacher. I mean, what did they put her in, some conditioning or something?
Well,
I mean, it's like,
when you go fanatical, she's fanatical.
Yeah.
In that Avis,
Okay, I got to ask one big question of you, Amy. Do you find Ed Mercer charming in those scenes?
Completely.
Okay, so it's
Absolutely.
not just me falling for him then, right?
That is charm overload.
Okay, all right.
I gotta say, I think that's in part too because of just who Seth MacFarlane is. I mean, he's always kind of had that 50s, old school charm and mentality, but a lot of people you don't see from a lot of people these days, and he carries that so well. And I mean, he's a good-looking guy, but he's also interested in all the things that appeal to us here. I mean, come on, Kevin. I know you know the truth that Belloc was the true hero of Indiana Jones.
No.
And one other thing that I was thinking about with Talia is that Ed could have totally left her high and dry. She cannot go out in the sunlight, and he was protective of her, ensuring safe passage, gave her the jacket, a charming thing to do, of course, a gentleman, and making sure to get the signal and to trying to make her feel as comfortable as possible on the Orville. You're not a prisoner. Like, I guess Avis doesn't have that thing of doing to others as others you would have
the
others
golden
doing
rule.
to you. Mercer is showing that we're in this together, and she refused to accept it.
Well, let's get into the next episode here. Admiral's Log episode synopsis for Gently Falling Rain, Season 3, Episode 4. Amy, take it away.
Well, the crew escorts a Union delegation to the Krill homeworld to sign a historic treaty. Matters become complicated after Admiral Halsey tells Ed that Talia is running for Supreme Chancellor and has amassed a populist following. The incumbent chancellor is projected to win, but Talia stages a coup and seizes power, having the incumbent chancellor killed. She plots to kill the Union delegates, but secretly arranges Ed's release to reciprocate his freeing her the prior year. However, Krills who support the Union-Krill alliance intercept Ed. They introduced him to Anaya, a half-human, half-Krill child who is his and Talia's daughter. Ed confronts Talia, who, fearing losing her following and newfound power, refuses to reveal Anaya. She then returns Ed for execution. Before the delegates are executed, Lamar and Claire, disguised as Krill, arrive and stage a rescue. The delegates are safely returned to Orville and escape to Earth. Though the treaty is now dead, Ed resolves to somehow preserve the peace between the Union and the Krill to protect his daughter, even though it is unlikely he will see her again. As the episodes end, Talia watches Anaya playing over a security feed. Now, there's some production notes for this.
Yes.
Gently Falling Rain unified 3 radically different storytelling goals between the scriptwriters, Andre Bormanis and Brannon Braga, and its director, John Cassar, and the showrunner, Seth MacFarlane. Bormanis wanted the script to pose the question, how do you really know who to trust? Cassar wanted to explore the changed relationship of Talia and Mercer against the backdrop of an unfamiliar planet, and MacFarlane wanted to focus on the theme of coexistence with people with extreme political views. I love that.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, let's
and
go
all
ahead.
3 were successful in the story, I believe.
Yeah, totally. Kyle, do you want to get us the first bit of trivia for
we can do that. My view screen is working again. Gently Falling Rain is dedicated to the memory of Lisa Baines, who played Spirit Balask in this episode. She died in June 2021 after a traffic accident. Spirit Balask is a
Zelayan.
senator in the Planetary Union. And an aide of President Alcazan, Balask was part of the Union delegation to Krill in 24-22.
Oh.
Yeah, at the beginning of the episode, you see the dedication to her. So yeah, it's sad. All right, let's go ahead and do the second bit of trivia there. Go ahead and hit us up there, Amy.
All right. Well, Bruce Boxleitner plays President Alcazan of the Planetary Union. Now, on Babylon 5, his character ended up similarly president of the Interstellar Alliance. He must have a presidential air about him.
He does, yes. And the last bit of trivia I found fun here. Admiral Halsey, Victor Garber, is in the audience of the Annie performance. Victor Garber is well known for starring as Daddy Warbucks in the 1999 TV version of Annie. And if you see the picture there, Kathy Bates plays the evil lead or evil overseer of the orphanage there. So there you go.
I did not know that. And yes, of course he was.
Yeah, look at that. He's all bold. Look at that. It's funny. And speaking of, we do have some notable guest stars here. Of course, we do have Victor Garber as Admiral Halsey. Ted Danson is Admiral Perry. Michael McManus is Talea. We have Charlie Townsend, who plays Anaya, the Krill girl. And we have John Fleck as the Krill ambassador. Kelly Hugh as Admiral Ozawa. And then we also have, of course, Bruce Boxleitner as President Alcazan. Lisa Baines, of course, as Superior Balask. And Matt Gottlieb as Supreme Chancellor Gorin there. Now, before we talk about this episode, we did want to mention the honorable mention here of Priya. And this was season 1, episode 5, where Ed becomes smitten with the captain of a stranded ship, but Kelly suspects all is not what it seems. And, Ed falls for Priya. They have a moment. It's kind of funny. But we find out that Priya is basically is a time traveler trying to steal their ship, basically. But I did want to mention too is that this is Charlize Theron. She's an A+ actor, right? Oscar winner. Played many different roles. And what's so funny is I feel like Seth MacFarlane has certain people on speed dial. For those of you that don't know, I'm going to hold up a movie here, and it's going to come up later. This is the comedy A Million Ways to Die in the West that Seth MacFarlane directed and starred in. And co-starring is Charlize Theron and Liam Neeson. So obviously he was able to reach out to them and saying, "Hey, do you mind being in an episode of the Orville?" And Liam Neeson, of course, had a small uncredited role at the end of that one episode, but he obviously had an extended way here. So he's obviously got people on his speed dial. He's a very powerful man in Hollywood and can get people to do such things. So I thought
he's a very popular man in Hollywood. You don't hear too many people say bad things about Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah. Definitely. So that is Priya there. But let's go ahead and talk about Gently Falling Rain. Let's go ahead and get some discussion on this episode and why, Amy, this is obviously a good Seth MacFarlane / Ed Mercer episode.
Yeah, this is... Yeah, those 3 main topics really come out in this episode. And for Mercer to be confronting Talea about this daughter and what it shows who he is as a person at the end, where he's talking, I've only met her once and I'll probably never meet her again, but I feel like she's mine and I'm already missing her. Like, I'm paraphrasing. But man, that's very impressive. Working at a school as I do, I wish all fathers could have that instantaneous love for a child. That was very, very impressive. Another big shocker from this was Mercer looking at these fake videos that were going from spurring from Talea's side, and
These
fake
political fake
Yeah.
videos. Yeah, good point. I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to discuss
And
that. Yeah.
yeah, and how he was like really understanding the gravity that the current chancellor, who's slated to win, just might not. And but yet still holding back, like, well, this is their planet. We can't interfere, but look at what's happening, and trying to offer the support as the union to the current chancellor. I keep forgetting his name, but I found that, like, politically, he was very sharp minded and quick to understand what was happening, and I love that for his character.
What's the word I'm looking for? It's right at the tip of my tongue. Spreading, like, kind of like wartime fake news. What's that called? Come on, guys, help me out here. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Well, like guerrilla warfare,
but it's the
with
stuff,
media.
Yeah, media, fake news type of thing. Or
Misinformation.
Yeah, but
propaganda.
Thank you.
There
Propaganda.
You go.
Thank you.
Yes.
Everyone listening and watching is like, come on, guys. Yes, propaganda is an ancient form of warfare. And that's exactly what that was. I want to touch on that real quick because it's kind of coming across how scary AI is becoming right now. And you see it all over Facebook and social media. Stuff's looking a little too real. It's like that. And I liked how he touched on propaganda in an AI type of way to basically take someone to say something that they never said and it never happened. Yet you're using that to spread fear and anger, and people that just want to follow are going to follow and pay attention to anything that they say in any way. And we're seeing that right now in the political climate as we are,
Yeah.
And so the propaganda type of thing I thought was very interesting little thing that they brought up there. Kyle, I want to kind of get your thoughts on this one here. Overall, obviously we've got Seth finding out that he is a father now, and Talea tried to set him free, and he is like, yeah, no.
Well, I'm just going to go big right out of the gate. This is the best, most well-balanced episode of the Orville ever made. I think it's my favorite. It's my all-time favorite episode. Rewatching it really solidified that for me. Seth MacFarlane puts in everybody puts in an amazing performance, but Seth MacFarlane's performance in this episode is so well done. And the thing with this episode, you've got the action, you see the Krill home world. That's all. You got the science fiction side of it. Yeah, that's really good. But you've got this emotional upheaval between Talea and Ed, where they still can't quite figure it out. It's like they're walking on eggshells a little bit around each other, where they're not afraid to say things to each other, but then they kind of pull themselves back because of emotion. And then just the heartwarming how Ed reacts to finding out he has a daughter and seeing her. I think the only real thing that takes me out of this episode a little bit is that the kid, if it was only a year, and I understand we don't know how Krill age and everything like that. That's a 4 or 5 year old after a year's time period. So there is.
It serves a story just like Topa's amazing sprout.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's that same.
Yeah. It's one of those things when it comes to aliens, I just let it ride.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, overall, you have action, you have emotion, you have political, and it's all so well done, and it's so reflective of the times, even now, and even just a few years ago when this episode came out. And it's just phenomenally written, it's phenomenally acted, and it's the episode for me, I think, more than any other Orville episode, that had me on the edge of my seat the entire episode.
That's an excellent point, Kyle. I want to touch on that. Actually, the production value on this episode alone was like a movie production, especially when he's walking around the underworld of Krill and you're seeing Krill vehicles go by, Krill exotic dancers hanging around, and
the space battles.
Yeah, the space battle like you're talking about. On a kind of funny side, though, I don't know what it was, but seeing Claire and Lamar as Krill, it was just weird. I don't know. maybe because we had more screen time with Malloy and Ed as Krill, and there were some funny moments and stuff. But that will be a trivia question. Like, other than Malloy and Mercer, who dressed up as Krill? So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But let's get back to. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I have
ahead,
a question to ask you. So when Talia let Mercer go, but then he came back. Did you believe her that she did it just to return the favor, or does she
I did.
have feelings for Mercer?
I think she does. I think she does, but she's in a situation to where she can't back down from where she is. And honestly, from what I get from the Krill world, is that it's ruled mostly by the males. And there might be stuff that we don't know. We haven't really seen any other female leaders other than her regarding the Krill. They've all been men, even the Sazaron, the chief whatever guy that we saw from the Krill episode, the one that was holding, trying, the Ancana, then they were trying to steal the Ancana, basically, the Krill Bible. So there's more there to be told, at least in my head canon. I think she does care for him, and this was her way of saying, look, I'm going to let you go because you let me go. And she seemed genuinely surprised that he did not. And, the fact that we see her watching this security feed of her daughter might change the landscape of things. But, what we'll get into later of what I think should happen and might happen if we get more episodes with him. But,
what say you, Kyle?
Yeah.
Well, no, I think there's another point to that, though. I think she wanted to get him off planet because she didn't want him to know about their daughter. And I think that was a big part of it. I mean, they were taking him to the ship, and then the other group intervenes and takes him to see his daughter. That was something she did not want. She did not want that because I think she knew if Ed knew about their daughter, it might bring emotion out of her. It might be like Ed could use that to play on her heartstrings. And she is, I think, with Talia and what we see in this episode and how she is, I think what we're seeing is we see somebody who has let their pain and anguish and the brainwashing that she's been through within her own religion and the things that have happened to her. And she doesn't know how to handle her emotions when it comes to Ed. And sometimes it's just easier to bury it under the hate and the anger and make it buried, but it keeps popping up because it is strong. It is there. It is a part of her. And you see that, she's doing the whole, I'm just returning the favor. I'm repaying a debt. That's it's more than that. And I think that's very obvious, but it's one of those things to where it's like, she doesn't understand Ed completely. She still hasn't figured that out because she doesn't know how to deal with this kind of emotion.
It's a great point, Colin. I'm trying. You made me think about something else too. Her time as Lieutenant Janelle Tyler. I mean, she had a pretty good stint being Janelle, right? I mean, she had a cool job. She hung around with a cool crew. No one treated her weird. Maybe Malloy lusted after her for a little bit, but they didn't go anything weird, and Ed was more than charming. Is any of that rubbing off on you, Talia? I mean, come on, I mean, I'm just saying, you made a good blonde,
I think in this case, Kevin, some of it probably did rub off, but she was so focused on what she wanted and and the mission. I don't think it rubs off until later when they're on the planet and when Ed starts questioning her, but like some of it has to be real. You can't have faked everything about that. And then she starts talking about the little, Billy, how she liked Billy Joel, how she liked Indiana Jones, things, those little things. And they kind of creep in and then they're there. And then how Ed shows her true humanity at the end by letting her go. It's torn, and then she has a child with Ed, and I mean, and she has this amazing child, and I'm sorry, I got to say this too, that is the cutest child actor ever. That little girl is going to be a heartbreaker when she gets older. If you've seen pictures of her out of the makeup and everything like that little girl is just going to be breaking hearts left and right.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I got to ask a really important question here, guys, and feel free to throw me under the bus if you want. When the last Nothing Left on Earth Excepting Fishes, when he lets her go and he gives her the Billy Joel music and the Billy Joel song, she's all the woman to me or something like that. Anybody else tear up? Was that just me?
Kevin had a Hallmark moment, ladies and gentlemen.
Damn it! Just me then. All right, fine. You guys are all dead in your hearts. Fine. All right, let's go ahead and talk some Seth MacFarlane here, guys, for the next Orville shuttle mission. All right. Ed Mercer, played by Seth MacFarlane. Seth MacFarlane, of course, is the showrunner, the creator of the Orville. Self-admitted big Star Trek fan. We all remember seeing interviews of him talking about that Best of Both Worlds cliffhanger and him replaying and wearing out his VHS tape as we kept watching that over and over again. We know that he's a huge fan. And he's been in lots of projects. Of course, I mentioned A Million Ways to Die in the West, and he just finished up season 2 of Ted, which I have a copy of it here in my hand, season 1, The Talking Teddy Bear. Very funny show, crass, but I love it. And of course, most people know him through Family Guy and American Dad, and through Ted and all the other voices he's done on all those. He's a very, very talented vocal actor. And keep in mind that a lot of the characters that he plays, like Peter and Brian and Stewie and Quagmire from Family Guy, a lot of these people are in the same scene talking to each other. Now, think about that. There's some very funny scenes on the Graham Norton show. YouTube it, please, of him doing some funny stuff with the voices, especially when he does the famous Liam Neeson Taken speech as Kermit the Frog. It's worth a laugh. Make sure you check it out. So, yeah. Some information about Seth here, guys, I do want to share with you. Of course, he was born 1973 in Kent, Connecticut, to Seth Woodbury, and his name is Seth Woodbury MacFarlane. And he lived there with his mom, Ann Perry, an admissions office worker, his father, Ronald Milton MacFarlane, a prep school teacher, and his sister, Rachel MacFarlane, now a voice actress and singer. He is of English, Scottish, and Irish ancestry and descends from Mayflower passengers. Seth attended and studied animation at the Rhode Island School of Design. After he graduated, he was hired by Hanna-Barbera Productions, now called Cartoon Network Studios, working as an animator and writer on the TV series Johnny Bravo from 1997 and Cow and the Chicken in 1997. He also worked for Walt Disney Animation as a writer for the TV series Jungle Cubs in 96. He created The Life of Larry in 95, which was originally supposed to be used as an in-between on Mad TV in 1995. Unfortunately, the deal fell through, but after a few months later, executives at Fox called him into their offices and gave him $50,000 to create a pilot for what would eventually become Family Guy. Now, for this, just real quick, I want to take a quick break here. Family Guy, remember when this came out? I watched it when it came out. It got canceled by Fox. Then it did so well on DVD, it came back. I think it was after the 3rd or 4th season. Is that right, Kyle?
I believe it was the 4th season, and you're right. I mean, for those of us in the sci-fi and fandom, we always talk about Firefly, how the DVD really saved Firefly.
Yeah.
And what Family Guy did actually blew it out of the water. I mean, and now Family Guy's almost 20 years on television now, it feels like.
Yeah, 20 freaking seasons. So yeah, it's crazy how well certain things have changed the course of his career. And since Family Guy's debut, MacFarlane has gone on to create 2 other television shows, American Dad, 2005, and The Cleveland Show in 2009. MacFarlane began to establish himself as an actor, voice actor, animator, writer, producer, director, comedian, and singer throughout his career. MacFarlane has also written, directed, and starred in Ted and its sequel, Ted 2. Those were both in 2012 and 2015, respectively. And, of course, the movie I mentioned earlier, A Million Ways to Die in the West in 2014. He voiced the mouse Mike in the animated musical Sing. Now, here's some interesting trivia here. Yeah, Kyle?
I just want to throw in, because probably when you pull these notes, he is also one of the writers for the new Naked Gun remake that is starring Liam Neeson,
who he has on speed dial. Here's how things could have changed, and we would have never have gotten any of this, guys. Seth MacFarlane was aboard he was supposed to be aboard the first plane which crashed into the Twin Towers on September 11th. but missed his flight due to his travel agent giving him the wrong departure time.
Wow, crazy.
Was given voice training by a 90-year-old couple who also trained Frank Sinatra. He is a skilled pianist, has a baritone singing range. He voiced, of course, Peter Griffin, mostly from a loudmouth security guard that worked on the campus where he attended college. The name of his production company, Fuzzy Door, comes from the name of his apartment when he attended Rhode Island School of Design. The door to the house was covered in fur. Now, let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about Seth himself. I want to get your guys' thoughts before we start talking about Mr. Ed Mercer. Amy, what have you learned? What are your thoughts on Seth, the man himself?
Wow. First of all, is he married?
No,
I don't see a wife there.
He is single.
I almost spit out my water there, Amy.
I mean, he's exactly my age. I'm only like 6 months older than him. We're born in the same year, so we have this connection. We know I fell for his charms, you know. How interesting, how fascinating, how talented. I didn't know him before the Orville. I'm not gonna lie. Well, I knew he liked Star Trek.
Amy, I just want to interrupt. I just looked it up. Never been married, no children.
Okay, see, we
but he has a history of dating actresses with.
Oh
with
dear. Well, he needs a school counselor. That's what he needs.
Seth, you need Amy on your speed dial. Just saying.
Yes.
That thing still anymore? I don't know.
But my gosh, so and variety, not just like one. I cannot believe this. I'm very impressed. And good for him for recognizing his talent and running with it. I mean, I'm seriously, really.
Yeah. Kyle, you had said that he's one of the nicest guys in show business. What are your thoughts on Seth?
I think he's had one of the most interesting careers in Hollywood because he came in, so many people, including I think all of us, saw him as this one-note wonder with the whole Family Guy thing, Ted, kind of the dirty joke guy, pushes the limit, you know, not afraid to cross the line when he needs to with his comedy. And yet, and I know when the Orville first came out, that was even one of our concerns, like, oh God, is he gonna do Family Guy in space? What's going on? But the thing about Seth is he is so talented, and we got to see that even with A Million Ways to Die in the West, and then when he did with the Orville, that there's so much more to him, and he's shown that. I mean, and he just got a huge contract from NBC to do shows for them, and it's one of the reasons why we wonder if we're going to get an Orville season 4. Fox let this guy go, and he was a goldmine. But here's the other thing about Seth. He is a old school Renaissance man. He lives a lifestyle like he's like a Frank Sinatra back in the day. He is an incredible singer. He has multiple albums out that have gone gold with that swing style 50s crooner sound.
Yeah.
I mean, he should be a regular host in the Oscar rotation. He did it the one year, and I think
right. Yeah.
And he's just got this old school Hollywood mentality to him, but he also understands the modern age. And I've seen him on political shows, Real Time with Bill Maher, where he's been on their panel, and he was outstanding on that. And he's highly intelligent. He's incredibly likable. I mean, and you just see it. You know, I kind of compare him in this aspect to the director James Gunn, where he has like his crowd that will jump on any project he does. Seth MacFarlane has that too. People work with him and they want to work with him again because the experience is so good. And like I said, he has become one of the most, I think, very under the radar in some ways, become one of the most powerful men in Hollywood.
You know, he does the comedy movies that he's done. They're very crass humor. So if that's not your thing, I understand. But if you want to see him have a funny take on A Million Ways to Die in the West about Western movies, he picks on every Western cliche, which is hilarious. And he has a really funny cast outside, of course, Liam Neeson and Charlize Theron in there. He's got Giovanna Ribisi, Amanda Seyfried. Neil Patrick Harris does a really funny song and dancing about growing mustaches. It's very funny. And the TED
I
series
think
too.
I've seen that movie then. Now
It's
Yeah.
been on.
it's
It's
sounding
been in the cable
familiar.
rotation a lot.
Yeah, it is really, really funny. And then the TED series is also very crass about a talking teddy bear with Mark Wahlberg. And what's also funny too is that there's an ongoing thing with if you're a big fan of the movie Flash, the actor that plays Flash is in it too, and they actually released a Ted versus Flash Gordon Ted 1 and 2 Ultimate Collection on DVD, which is pretty interesting if that's your thing or not. But I'm a huge fan of Seth. I love how I'll be honest with you, when it comes to him doing the Orville, you can tell how much he respects Star Trek.
Yes.
And if you go back and watch some YouTube videos, he released I think it was a high school video, even before he got into high school, of him doing classic style Trek home videos.
Wow.
Like he is a Captain Kirk, either he's doing Captain Kirk or someone like Captain Kirk. So you know how much Star Trek means to him, and that this Orville was and is a dream project for him. So yeah, make sure you guys check it out. Well, let's go ahead and talk about his character, Ed Mercer, here, guys. We asked the three big questions here. Number one being how their characters' moments tie in the Orville universe as a whole. The second question is their relationship to the rest of the Orville crew. And if we had more episodes with this character, pray for season 4, where would you like to see their story arc go? Let's go ahead and start with the first question here. Kyle, I'm going to start with you. How their character moments tie in the Orville universe as a whole. And just as a reminder, I want to touch on a couple of things here. So he's been part of the most important political and military missions. You know, him and Malloy stole the Ancana off of a Krill ship, and led the Orville and the Kaelon invasion of Earth, represented Earth at Planetary Council Union's vote on the Sanctuary, and the whole Kaelon conflict and its resolution of that. Kyle, give me your thoughts on Ed Mercer and how he's affected the Orville universe as a whole.
He's affected it huge. He's kind of become, in a way, the center of a lot of major things that have changed the universe in the Orville, whether it's been with Bortus and his people, the Krill, things that happen with Kaelon. I mean, and he has changed it a lot. And again, he came into this as a very I'm in my captaincy, then gets his reality world rocked when he finds out Kellius. He has a shaking confidence. But by the end, this is somebody who's earned all the admiral's respect and the respect of the entire Union, and in ways, parts of the universe too, because of his own humanity and how he deals with different situations, and how he just is always he's always himself. He's always true to his beliefs and himself, and it's paid off for him. And it's because of that, he has been a player and a person that has completely changed huge aspects of the Orville universe. And I mean, as much as you talk about, moments with Bortus and moments with Isaac and things like that, Ed Mercer is just always there. He's omnipresent in these situations. He may not get all the recognition. He might not be even the focus of what's going on, but his presence changes things, and it's his presence and what he's done and how he's handled things that's earned the trust of the admirals and of the Union, that he's become. While he's not an admiral yet, he's definitely on the path, and he has still got a major story to tell, and that's probably his defining story. And that's something that is the big thing with that, is he hasn't had his defining story yet.
It's interesting you say that, Kyle, and Amy, I want to get your thoughts too on this, but I have to mention this. Obviously, he is respected with his peers, and the admirals, maybe they find him a little funny and annoying sometimes, but Admiral Halsey has been very, very patient. I almost kind of feel Admiral Halsey has kind of become this surrogate father of his, or leader of his that he looks for, because he gave him a chance. But the other thing too is and we didn't mention at the end of Gently Falling Rain, the Admiralty, or the leading council, I guess, of the Union Federation, they wanted to use him and Talea's daughter as kind of a bargaining chip to kind of like show, hey, Talea has a kid that's a half-breed, blah, blah, blah. But they let Ed make that decision. They let him do it. And that's a lot of respect coming his way, obviously showing that he's had a huge role in shaping the Union as it is, and bartering for peace when they have a chance and stuff. What about you, Amy? What do you think about the Orville universe as a whole and his impact on it?
Well, yeah, he definitely has made the impact. And let's just think about now that thankfully this is our 10th episode and we have watched now at least 20 episodes. Um, he has been first to Kalon, correct? Went, Isaac was broken. Let's get Isaac fixed. And how he dealt with the Kalon, perfect. Like the Kalon are so logical. They're not based on emotions. Then contrast that with, like you mentioned, at Sanctuary and Mercer going off on the admirals. Why are we going to let the Mocklins? They're telling us our moral code and what we can't. Like, he was so emotional with the Mocklins and going to bat for Topa and, all.
Was that when Halsey was like, "Watch your tone" or something like that,
Yes.
right? Yeah. That was a good scene.
Yeah, and now we've got him with the krill and all that we've learned about the krill and how strategic he has to be, but yet there's that emotional, personal investment with Anaya. So we have seen Mercer in 3 drastic and universe building, important, crucial roles. He definitely is the crux pin. I don't know, whatever metaphor is out there. He's the center pole of all of this. And each one, I think, was exactly what was needed at the time.
Great points. Yeah, I agree with you guys. So yeah, his influence on the Union Federation in general has been huge. Especially like with the time travel, even the relationship with his ex-wife and sending the other Kelly back. Obviously changed things and such. So yeah, very 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 important to the Orville universe. So the second question, or part of the discussion here, is their relationship to the rest of the Orville crew discussion. Now, obviously, we have his relationship with his ex-wife Kelly and them working together. We've seen that have its ups and downs. And I remember when we were watching this as it first came out, we're like, oh, we're all over the, are they going to be back together again or are they not? But it's made for a very interesting relationship with the dichotomy and them finding other loves, and then they break up and they seem to have this respect. And then of course you got his old buddy Malloy, and they've had some, side adventures together. And I'm trying to think, other than Talea, the other crew members that he's had the biggest, relationship with, I guess. And you could probably say maybe Claire a little bit. But I'm trying to look at the rest of it and I can't really narrow any. I mean, obviously he's had moments and he's, talked to Bortus and he played Latchcomb with them and won apparently, So, but let me get you guys' thoughts on the relationship with the rest of the Orville crew and what stands out most to you, Kyle.
I think with the thing that's Ed, and it goes back to it, is he's the captain, but yet he's friends with everybody. You see him going out with Lamar and Malloy on the holodeck cowboy adventures and stuff like that. You see how he is with Bortus, and he's always there for his crew. I mean, and that's the thing. The crew knows he has their back no matter what. Even when he's angry with them, he's still going to step up and protect them and support them. You look at his relationship with Kelly. It's very complex. There's a lot of emotion there, but by the end of the season 3, they have a peace. They have a love for each other, where they still love each other, but it's not, oh, I'm pining over you, or I'm still angry with you. They found the peace between them, but I just think it's, whether it's being a big brother to Alara when she was on the show, to just knowing what buttons to push with his crew, being Malloy's best. I mean, when Malloy is your best friend in life, that tells you the kind of person you are a little bit too, because Malloy is a prankster, but he also looks out for Malloy. He thinks Malloy can be more than than what he is, but he also understands certain things. And I think that's the big thing with Ed and his crew is he understands the humanity of his crew. And because that's how he sees things, he's through his own humanity. And even when even when it's Bortus with different views and an alien race or what Isaac even, he still looks for the humanity in them. And I think that is his strength as a captain.
Well said, Kyle. What about you, Amy? What do you think?
I agree with you, Kyle. And like when you were talking, Kevin, like, yep, the Kelly and Gordon, and then you're like, maybe Claire, like, that's a stretch. But I think it goes to what you're saying, Kyle. Like, it's sort of the trio, Kelly, Ed, and Gordon, because they grew up together. And then you've got the rest of the crew where he he's captain. And yes, friendly, go to, open door completely, but he's not sharing personal experiences with the crew. Like Gordon, there's the history, Kelly, so that's his trio. And then he's captain, really, I think, and an excellent captain to everyone. So it is an interesting dynamic that he's able to pull off both of having that personal tie-in relationship. You're my best friend, you're my best ex-wife, have that going. And still like, oh, go hang out with Lamar and drinking at 10 for, or, the bar 10 forward, drinking with them all the time, like chummy and really good, healthy relationships. So the crew is very lucky to have Captain Mercer.
Well, I think there's one other person of the crew that could have a closer relationship with Ed, and that ties into the final question I want to ask you guys is, if we had more episodes with Ed, where would you like to see their story arc go if we do get a 4th season or maybe a movie? I don't know. And I'm going to lead this off. So the future of any of these characters, the most I find fascinating is what's going to happen with Ed because of his daughter that he had with Talea and how he can't see her. And he's even writing letters to her that he can't give to her. And there's a nice moment that Kelly notices that and says, I always knew you would make a good father. But the other person that I would love to see him get to know is with Bortus, because now they both have daughters, and they both have daughters under very interesting situations. And I would love for them to kind of have a moment sometime in the future. I would love to see Ed be a father. And I think that's really, really important because, being a stepfather myself, it's been one of the most rewarding things for me to see a little girl grow up. And that's one of the things that I really gravitated towards the story arc of Topa and, of course, of Ed's daughter. Oh, shoot, I'm forgetting her name right now.
Anaya.
Anaya, thank you. Gently Falling Rain. I would love to see how that changes him. And, I would love to see him and Talea somehow find a common ground. And, maybe I'm not necessarily saying that they would become romantic again, but this is damn good science fiction writing and just good drama too. To put yourself, you're the showrunner of this. You've let so much of the other cast member get highlighted and have some great story arcs. It's your time. Think about it. The captain of the Enterprise in any iteration we have has had so many great story arcs and is highlighted because that person or the captain, whatever captain of any Star Trek show, they obviously have really good episodes because they're the captain, they're the star. And this is where Ed, I would hope that Seth would let shine if he's given the opportunity. I want to see how he is as a father. I want to see how that changes him. Does that rekindle any relationship with Kelly? Because maybe she's already takes Topa under her arm. So she's kind of have a parenting dichotomy is there as well. But then I also asked the question too, is there a story in the Orville later on where Ed is not the captain anymore? Maybe he's promoted to admiral and the Orville is commanded by Kelly or someone else. I wouldn't mind that. I could see Seth going, look, I'm going to tell my story for a while, but I'm going to step back and maybe it's someone else's turn, or maybe, another ship is highlighted. I don't know, but Seth needs to find a way to not necessarily wrap a bow and tie a bow on that story arc, because I think that could be continuous and would be one of the most fascinating things. Because imagine Anaya, Topa hanging out on the Orville or doing something together, and maybe they're at peace with the Krill again or something like that. I don't know. But that's kind of where I would like to see for sure of the character of Seth and being a father go. Kyle, what about you? We're going to let Amy go because she likes it when we go first with this question. So where do you want to see Ed go if we get any more opportunities with him?
So this is where it gets really interesting, because to me, we're all science fiction fans here. A lot of you that listen obviously are science fiction fans too. There is a classic story to tell as far as Ed and Anaya and Talea and what could happen. And it could go a couple of different ways. It could go where they get pulled back into something with the Krill. Ed decides to go get his daughter. Or Ed's like, I need to get her. I can't not have her. I have to be part of her life. It could be something where we see Talea and Ed find a peace between each other, but usually if you watch sci-fi, that doesn't end well. It usually somebody doesn't survive. And I would say in this case, it would be Talea. And it could go one of two ways with that, if that were the case. And I'll explain give me a few more minutes here and I'll explain why I'm talking about this classic trope, because the classic trope would be then probably it would either be Ed and Kelly get back together through all of this. They raise Talea or Anaya, or Ed leaves the Union to be a father to Anaya. So that's the classic trope. We're talking about Seth MacFarlane. And as much as he loves classic Trek, as much as he loves classic stories, he's not afraid to take a chance and do something a little different.
Yeah.
And I could see him putting a twist into this kind of storyline to where maybe Talea and him leave together, or he stays on Krill to help transition the people of Krill into a new way of life and a new thinking. There's a lot of directions it could go with Ed, and it could lead to a new another Orville show, but with a new cast, with maybe like Malloy staying around, some of our other characters coming around. Whether Adrian Padalecki would come back to be the captain, or if somebody else new stepping in as the captain and kind of having a new generation, because we are now building a new generation of Orville children. You have Anaya, you have Topa, you have Claire's boys. You have a generation where you could have some of these characters become part of the crew of the Orville and have that legacy going on as well. But I really think whether we get a movie, we get a season 4, whatever happens. And actually, in my personal opinion, what I would love for them to do a movie that wraps up Ed's story. And really that's what the focus of the movie is. And then do a 4th season of the Orville, or a new version like New Horizon was, Orville a new generation or something like that afterwards, and see what they do with that. And you could have Ed make guest appearances and Kelly make guest appearances and stuff like that. But that's where I want to see it go. But there's really, to me, we all want it. We want that story of Ed reuniting with his daughter, because that moment when he sees her and how much love he has for her instantly, and you're thinking this man would be a phenomenal father. And Kelly even says it to him. I mean, we want as human beings, if you don't want to see Ed be a true father to his child, Kevin, you talk about it, you have no heart. Come on now.
Yeah. Amy, have we given you anything to think about of how you want to see Ed's story arc go if we get more?
All right.
Lay it on.
Go with me. Ed stays in contact with the, people who introduced him to Anaya.
Revolutionaries.
Yes,
the Krill Underground.
Yes, the Krill Underground. Ed is in contact with and is now getting those letters delivered, and takes Anaya and anyone else who is with Anaya or those supporters, they go to Sanctuary. Topa's there, and they are raising Anaya, and Talea's getting sicker and sicker, but more powerful and more powerful. And they're raising up Anaya to be this amazing, compassionate, logical, fierce, Wonder Woman. So once Anaya gets adult, comes back, Talea's on her deathbed, and here comes Anaya, mother, daughter, I've been wrong. And Talea, and it pronounces, this is my daughter. I'm wrong. I'm a fool. Avis has decreed it. And now they are joining the Federation.
Kyle, I think Amy should have gone first.
Yeah, well, the only
other
part is this: you have that storyline.
Talk about a mic drop, Amy. Come on.
No, wait. I got to add on though. After all that happens, we begin our new season of the Orville, and we've dealt with the Krillin threat of Avis. We need a new alien religious belief with the threat of Hertz.
As the
Yeah.
Or Enterprise,
No.
As the Uncana turns,
Yeah.
so shall the days of our lives.
The days of our rental cars.
Yes.
Well done, guys. All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up here. All right, we've had a wonderful discussion talking about Captain Ed Mercer, played by Seth MacFarlane. Some great ideas there of what we hoped that would come. I just hope we need more Orville Planetary Union world. We need more of it, so that would be great. Even if Seth's not in anymore, he could still produce it, and we just need more. So more characters too, more new characters. We'd love to see that. So final thoughts on this, Amy. You did a pretty good job of wrapping up, but this is the last episode of the individual character discussion, wrapping up with Ed Mercer.
All right. I do remember what I said at the top of this episode, and I'm sure you do too, listeners. I was like, he's an enigma. And now I'm like wanting him to save the Union and everyone. Because, yes, Seth MacFarlane is a genius in how he has written Ed Mercer. Has kept him captain, kept him private, but yet personable. He has really good relationships with all the crew. All the admirals love him. He has their trust. And the relationship with him and Kelly has been really, really good. They've gone back and forth. And I do remember we did talk about that at the beginning of the show. But yet it's been Mercer that is like, well, let's try this. I'm still wanting to. And it's been Kelly that's been pulling back. Well, my career now is taking control, where before that's the reason why she, was unfaithful. But so that's been interesting to see how he is dealing with that rejection. And you can see with Priya, falls very quickly. I want to be in love. I want to be in love. And then, maybe at the end of season 2, maybe there's a little something with Kelly, tomorrow. But no, it's not. And then we get Talea. So you can see even his personal romantic relationships progressing and becoming more mature. It has been truly wonderful watching Ed Mercer and Seth MacFarlane, because you're right. When you get those Mercer moments, that really is Seth MacFarlane. The Kermit the Frog, the movies, the call outs to the songs and the Dolly Parton, and so kudos, chef's kiss really to Seth MacFarlane and to Captain Ed Mercer.
Glad you said that, Amy. I feel like we do owe a big thanks to Seth for bringing this wonderful science fiction series to the table for us to enjoy, and has now created a whole new fandom, and we need more Orville conventions. Let's make that happen. Kyle, your final thoughts here on Seth MacFarlane's Ed Mercer.
I think it would be very interesting if Ed Mercer was a Star Trek captain, where we would have him, because I don't think he outshines a Kirk or Picard. and maybe not even a Sisko or a Janeway, but he's going to be one of the most popular captains because everybody can relate to him. It's why people love Pike. People feel like they can relate to Pike. And I said that earlier in the show. Again, it's a credit to the genius of Seth MacFarlane for realizing, yes, I'm really the star of the show, but I don't treat it that way. I make sure everybody gets their moments, and it's my job as being the star of the show to support them and let them have the spotlight on them. So when it does come on me, I do my thing, but to go 3 seasons of a show that you've created and a premise that is dear to you, and to not have the ego to tell your character's big story. And he did a little bit, but not really to let it have this big thing to fruition, which we all thought we were going to get when we watched season 3. We all thought we were going to see it, and we didn't. And I think it's a credit to Seth MacFarlane's not having an ego in that aspect and supporting his crew and his actors and everything like that. And it reflects so much in Ed Mercer with his humanity. And I will say this, and I truly believe this. I don't think we've had in Star Trek or the Orville, I don't think we've had a captain with more heart and more just faith in humanity. And we've never seen that shaken with Ed through everything he's been through. His faith in humanity and his belief in humanity and his moral compass has never wavered. And that is what makes Ed Mercer such an incredibly strong character. But again, in a way that, because of the way MacFarlane has portrayed the character and written the character, it's under the radar. It's not loud and proud. It's, I'm here, and you don't realize it until later on, till you've watched maybe even this whole show as a whole. It's like, wow. And you realize he's the star of the show, but he's not. But yet this is the character that carries the weight for everybody, because he is the heart of the Orville, and he is the heart of the crew, and he believes in all of them, and he's there for all of them. And he's human, and it's so well done. And I think again, you have to give massive credit to Seth MacFarlane for not only his performance, but for having the courage to do something different from what we've known up until this point. When the Orville came out, we knew Seth MacFarlane as the crass humor guy, and he did that. We all had that concern when this came out, and what he's done with this show, and made this show probably one of the most well-written science fiction shows of the last 25 years. And in my opinion, got a lot of new generation to watch Star Trek because of it. People who would have maybe never watched Star Trek got inspired by watching the Orville and got into Trek because of the Orville. I truly believe that happened for a lot of people. And I think it's great. And I think somebody who can take something they love so much like Star Trek and make something like this tells you how intelligent they are, how bold they are, and how creative they are.
That's a good point, Kyle. And, by the way, I was just reminded, in case you guys don't remember or knew this, not only did Seth be a big Star Trek fan, but he actually had a small role on an episode of Enterprise. He played a crew member, and I don't remember the episode. And I have an actual trading card from the Decipher Star Trek card game company. I used to work for Decipher, and we had a Seth MacFarlane card. But yeah. I want to take the moment to say thank you, Seth, if you're listening or watching. I know you're not, but someone passed the word. I really appreciate what you've done, and I appreciate your humor. And you're obviously someone that people respect, and people are gonna, when you call, they will come. And you obviously have created a wonderful family around all of the productions that you've been part of. And it's very obvious that you've done that with the Orville here. And I know he doesn't want to let the Orville go. It's not up to him right now. But hopefully that, it seems like whatever production he does is popular and creates an interest and makes money. Obviously, he's done 2 Ted movies. I think he's going to do a 3rd one. He's doing the TV series as well. He just wrapped up the 2nd season. So I don't know what else that tells you, that maybe the Orville can find either some space on the big screen or something like that. But I just want to say thanks, Seth. You've created a 37 episode run of a series that I will continuously rewatch and enjoy, and of course discuss here with my fellow fans and friends here on Union Federation. So there we go. All right, guys, let's wrap this up. This is, of course, the Union Federation podcast, which can be found exclusively on the Fandom Podcast Network and, of course, on the BQN networks here. And don't worry, guys, we got one more episode left of this limited 10-episode series, but this time we're going to be spending the spotlight on the guest stars of the Orville, the reoccurring guest stars, the super guest stars, the Seinfeld contingency, and of course this Star Trek alumni that have been in front of the camera and behind the camera. We're gonna have a lot of fun discussing all of those, because if you're a Star Trek fan, you will know that the Orville paid a lot of respect to several actors and gave them parts and roles in front and behind the camera. So make sure you hang around for the final episode of the Orville crew profile of this limited series. All right, guys, this is the Fandom Podcast Network, and please go ahead and hit our QR code there if you're watching the YouTube channel. If you're listening to this podcast, please make sure you check out the YouTube channel. We've been sharing a lot of fun slides of each of these episodes. And Amy, you, of course, are the co-founder of the BQN. First of all, how can we find you, and what is happening on the BQN?
Well, please go over to Blue Sky. We're big on there at BQN Podcast, and you can find all of our shows there. We just finished up our third season of the View Screen, our YouTube Star Trek morning show, talk show, if you will. That was really fun. So you can now, I'm going back to All Good Things, which is our Star Trek overall coverage. So you can find me on All Good Things, and of course here in our Union Facebook group. And personally, I am on Blue Sky at Counselor Amy.
Awesome. Kyle, how can we get a hold of you, sir?
When you can rescue me off of Planet Taxium in 10 days. And you can find me, of course, all over the Fandom Podcast Network on our Facebook groups and pages, including the Union Federation page. You can find me on Twitter at AKyleW. You can find me on Blue Sky at AKyleW. You can also find me on Instagram and Threads at AKyleFandom.
Awesome. My name is Kevin Reitzel. You can find me on Facebook. And of course, you can find me on X, Instagram, Threads, Discord, Letterbox, all at Spartan_Phoenix. And you can also find myself also on Blue Sky at Spartan Phoenix. And the Union Federation, of course, of all, Amy mentioned it. Please join our Union Federation Podcast Facebook group, where we talk about both the Orville and Star Trek. Union Fed Podcast is also on X and Instagram. And you can also email us at unionfederation@gmail.com. And so make sure you check out the BQN and the Fandom Podcast Network. Please subscribe to the YouTube. We'd appreciate that. And another way you can support us too is TeePublic. If you want a cool Union Federation podcast logo shirt, or any of our great logos from all of our other shows on the network, head over to TeePublic. Appreciate that. This is the Orville. Yeah.
I just want to tell people, go with the red shirt. It's safe. We promise.
Yes. This is true. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you, Kyle. Appreciate you, Amy. We've had another great show. Looking forward to wrapping things up with the final episode. And this is episode 217. We've been discussing Ed Mercer and Seth MacFarlane. But next week will be all of the guest stars of the Orville. So until next time, everyone, please live long and prosper. And without a doubt, we are the weirdest ship in the fleet. We'll see you next time, guys.